everybody. Welcome to our Progressive Parenting After Dark. Today we're going to be talking about getting along with each other. But before we get started, I just want to tell you how excited I am about tonight's broadcast, mainly because I have all of my friends, well, not all of them, but a big chunk of my friends on the program with me tonight, and it's really exciting. It's so awesome to be friends with amazing women like this. We are all on the same page as far as loving each other goes, and that's awesome. And I think that's all you really need in a friend, is to have somebody that loves you. Above everything else, too, I'm really, really excited just about the network that it's going to be on, our Progressive Parenting Network. Everybody on the show tonight is either part of the network or is about to become part of the network. I hope you knew that. And, I'm just really excited about it because tonight's show is about the same thing that the network is about, and that is unity, about bringing one another together and then raising each other up, helping each other out. We have enough stuff out there where we are seeing women bringing each other down, tearing each other down, maybe not saying nice things about them or to them, or both. And so the network is all about bringing amazing people together and then them helping each other out. And that's the exciting thing for me. And then on top of that, the other thing that I'm excited about is just all of the learning that people can do on our network. We have a lot of free programs. We have a lot of courses that you can take for CEUs or just for fun. If you're a big birth nerd like me or a parenting nerd, you can go there, and we're just always adding content. So I'm really, really excited about that. And you're going to see people here on there, people like Sheila Pye. Shannon Mitchell and I were on the phone the other night talking about all the great stuff she's going to bring to the program. Nicole already has awesome stuff on there. If you want to geek out on oxytocin, please go there and do so. It's awesome talk. I loved it. I watched it twice with my husband, so it's interesting, I promise. And Kristen as well. We're going to just be doing some amazing stuff. So check out the website when it's all over and sign up for all of our newsletters and whatnot. Okay, enough of that stuff. I want to get to the meat of what we're talking about here tonight. We're going to talk touch on 5 different topics, or not topics, bullet points, as it were. But if you have questions throughout the talk, put them in the chat room, and we will try to get to them as we go. And to get started, we'll just start from left to right on the screen. Kristen, we'll start with you. I just want everybody to kind of sound off and let everyone know who you are and what you do. Give yourself a little plug, and then we'll get going.
Okay. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Okay, good. My computer just froze, so I can't see anything. Yay! So, my name's Kristen Piscucci, and I'm the Vice President of ImprovingBirth.org and the founder of Birth Monopoly. And I focus on women's rights in childbirth and raising awareness about them, and getting people fired up to actually use their rights and advance them.
Awesome. Well, thanks for being here. Krista! Hey, girl, can you hear me? Oh, no, I can't hear you. Oh. Wah, wah. I want to play, like, music from a game show.
No, I was on mute.
Oh, okay.
Oh, why can't she hear me? Oh, I'm on mute.
Go ahead. Go ahead and introduce yourself to everybody so they know who you are, what you do, and then we'll get going.
My name is Krista Miracle. I don't know what I do anymore. But I train women. I train women on postpartum support and things of that nature. I really haven't been teaching lately, but I am a student midwife and sometimes doula. So I wear many hats in addition to being the mother of 6 children. Mostly, though, I've focused my teaching on teaching women to be supportive of each other in the postpartum period. That kind of evolved into teaching women to be supportive of each other overall, because that was the main voice we were hearing, was we want to support women, but we can't.
Awesome. All right, Nicole.
Oh, hi. So let's see. I'm Nicole, and I also wear many hats, and I'm never quite sure how to make it succinct. But I'd say the three main things that I focus on are I created a curriculum to help people be in their bodies around birth. That's called embodied birth. And one of the pieces in there is a program called Holistic Peer Counseling. And that's a program where people can deal with the emotions that come up and have a place where those emotions can really be vetted. And so hopefully then we don't work it all out in our day-to-day lives with each other. And then I have a program called Raising Kids Without Sexual Shame, which is a facilitated discussion that we've been doing for about 5 or 6 years. So somebody once summed me up as the person who talks about things comfortably that no one else wants to talk about.
Perfect. Perfect. All right, Miss Sarah, you're up.
Am I? Oh, I guess I see you all in a different order then. Never mind. So I am a perinatal doula and co-chair and founder of Delaware Families for Safe Birth. We are a home birth support group, a midwifery advocacy group, specifically home birth midwifery, and I am expecting my third baby in just a few weeks. And I also am a college professor. I teach English and mythology, folklore classes. My background is in archaeology, but I'm a birth junkie to the core and diehard anime for life. So happy to be here.
Yay! All right, Janet Mitchell, you're up. In your underwater there.
Okay, I was too busy writing that it was really cool that she was an archaeologist because that's how I started a million years ago. Cool. I've been a birth worker for 17 years, 16 or 17. I don't really know what I am because I don't think there's a name for it. In my house, we try not to use the O word, the overwhelming, but that seems to be what I am. I have been a doula, childbirth educator, lactation consultant, and I was on the board of directors for ICANN for 5.5 years. I ran a successful ICANN chapter for 5.5 years. I was the vice president of Florida Friends and Midwives. I've been on numerous breastfeeding groups from different states or cities I've lived in. Most of what I do, though, is spending time telling women that it's okay. Whatever it is you want to do, it's okay. Even their protocol is not your plan. And I spend a lot of time saying and doing that, is just convincing women that they're allowed to do whatever it is they want to do for their births, their pregnancies, their breastfeeding.
Really?
Awesome.
Okay, Sheila, you're up.
Hi. I'm Sheila Pye of a Living Family Coaching Community, and I call myself a life doula who does relationship parenting and life coaching around co-parenting, birth, and mindful self-care.
Awesome. Okay, so of course I have a crying baby. He has been quiet for the last 18 hours.
Oh.
Yeah.
I
said to make sure to start crying as soon as the broadcast started, and he said, okay.
He wants to meet me. We never got a chance to meet.
Oh, here we are. Hi, Jack. So I'm Jack's mom. I'm also the mother of 3 other children, and I'm a doula and childbirth educator and birth junkie, and so that's what we all have in common. What we all have in common more than anything else is that we're women, and we are working in the media and in the medium of Facebook, and I know that we've all either encountered it or have seen it. If we've only seen it, then maybe we just started on Facebook yesterday. But we've all encountered other women being, for lack of a better word, mean to each other. A lot of mean girl stuff that happens, a lot of putting down of each other. And I want to touch on that. I think it's time for us to talk about it, to have a public conversation about it. And a lot of it, I think, has to do with how women feel about themselves. I saw an interview on Oprah not too long ago, and this one woman said that it comes out of scarcity, that women live in scarcity where men don't, where women see because we've been brought up abused as like a sex for so long that we kind of behave in the same way to each other. Like lots of abuse begets abuse. So she was saying that women live in scarcity. So if you have some, then that means that there isn't enough for me. And that kind of thinking tends to prevail. And I was talking earlier with Sheila, and this is one of the things that I wanted to touch on. And if y'all want to say anything about it, just raise your hand so I know to click on your face and you can start. But I want to start with Sheila, if I can, on self-love and what that has to do with why women treat each other the way they do.
Oh, I'm so flattered. So,
boom, on the spot. You're on. Go, go, go.
If I can come at this from an angle, because we often talk about, if you're on Facebook and you're thinking about it, it looks like this conversations, dialogue or conflict between two people, and we talk about things like attacking, or you betrayed me, or you kind of, you hurt me. There's all these things. So I talk about nonviolent communication, and it leads me into this thing that I call nurturing you, which is really about how do you talk to yourself, and do you care about your feelings, and how do you care about your thoughts, and I'm finding that this, the deeper I go into this Nurturing You program with myself and with other women, is that the judgment, the criticism, the analysis, the blame, the shame, the guilt, everything that we do and talk about inside ourselves, we say really nasty, hurtful things to ourselves inside. And some of those things we never tell anybody else about us, but sometimes people are more comfortable saying them about other people. And so you'll get that dialogue where I'll treat you with the lack of respect that I have for myself, or I'll treat you with the lack of love that I have for myself, or I'll treat you with judgment that I have for myself, or I'll shame you just as I shame myself. And the things that we judge the most are the places, the women that we judge the most somehow show us the shame that we have, and they trigger that in us. So that's kind of where I'm coming at this conversation from, is this nonviolent communication, mindful self-care background of self-love.
That's really interesting that you bring that out, because when you're saying that, I'm like, have I done that? Yeah. Have I? Oh, yeah. Yeah. I'm totally guilty of all of those things. That's hard to admit. So Nicole, I saw you clapping and agreeing.
Yeah. So I mean, that was a lot of how we use the holistic peer counseling curriculum. Is one of the main. Kathy has written about it in Birth Anarchy, because we've talked about it too, is one of the main terms that we talk about are triggers, and being able to notice when we get triggered by what somebody else says. And once we get enough awareness where we can realize that we've been triggered by what someone else says, that then we go into a peer counseling setting in order to process our own trigger. So rather than attacking the person who brought the trigger up for ourselves, which could totally align with what Sheila was saying about our own self-criticism and our own, I talk about self-loathing a lot, and hash it out and start to really work for ourselves what that trigger was, which usually then goes back to a whole set of things that kind of has nothing to do with the actual moment that just took place. So I feel like a lot of what I'm watching on Facebook, and just in general around any of us that are trying to actively change the current climate and the structure, is that first of all, we're in very rich territory with a lot of pain. So it's very easy. Hi, Irene! Hi. So it's very easy for us to get triggered by what we're discussing and then turn it on each other, rather than being able to reflect back and start turning it into a healing opportunity, so that then we can come together. So that's a lot of what I see holistic peer counseling is facilitating people to be able to do, is to see each other in our vulnerability and then come together, as opposed to having these triggers come up and then start attacking each other.
So here's honest talk time question. It's not even English. of the ladies here, like, who's gotten into it with somebody, like, on Facebook, you don't even know this person, and your heart starts racing, and your face gets flushed, and you like, you're feeling all the feelings. Do you? I mean, are you these ladies, like, with the halos that are able to like go, oh, this is a trigger for me. I should probably sit back now. And, like, seriously, like, how do we?
Well, I have to, because that's what I do, right? So it's pretty important that I model it.
I agree.
I've got myself over a fire, but I can't. I definitely get triggered. I just go into the peer counseling group and go, and they go, I love you. You're amazing.
But this is where my maturity has come from as a birth worker. In all actuality, I used to get highly emotional, highly triggered, highly upset, and I've had to learn to take a step back, take a deep breath, and go, you know what? I can click and walk away now. And there's a lot of people who come on my page and who say things that are.
Oh no! Shannon froze during the good part.
I think
very antagonistic to
even had it at
my
each
own
other.
belief stream. Because I'm probably the not right.
Shannon, I'm going to come back to you, okay? Because we can't hear you, love. I wanted to hear that, so we'll come back to you. Kristen, I saw you raise your hand, babe. I'm sorry, Krista. Sorry.
I listened for a minute because I always get the Kristen Krista mix up. You know, I've gone through, not just in the birth world, but as a human being and parent, and Gina, I think, probably got that whole flushed, angry feeling when my son was attacked for, you know, online, and my parenting was attacked, and you do feel that need to explain yourself, and it's much easier. The internet and Facebook and blogging has really kept. It's easy to attack people. It's easy to go online and type a bunch of stuff. Nobody really, particularly in these groups, nobody knows really who you are. There's a safety in it for people that feel badly and that may just be sitting behind their computer and feeling a need to be judgmental because they've been judged. I think that is always the common thread, right? Is that we only see in others what exists in ourselves, and even when we get upset because somebody's attacking us, we have to keep remembering that that fear that we see or that anger that we see in that person, it's only a reflection of ourselves and of the world, really. So I've just learned to really step back, to be less involved, which probably isn't the answer, right? You don't want to be less involved or... What was that, Gina?
No, I was just laughing at that. Like, my answer is...
My answer is run away.
Live in a cave.
Run away. Hide under a pillow. And, you know, but it exists in every part of... It exists in parenting, in you know, relationships, I mean, I do it constantly to my husband. I go like, why aren't you thinking the way I think? What are you talking about? What do you mean you don't see this my way? And if you take that and apply it to all of these other areas, well, then of course people are upset that we're not thinking the way they are. And there's so much, there has become so much delineation in being a birth worker and being a childbirth educator. There's so many areas where, you know, I hear doulas are turning people down because a woman wants to birth a particular way, and that's okay, but as long as we are respecting women and their rights and their choices, then we're okay. What do we do when, you know, oh, Gina's giving me the timer. Cut it off. Cut it off. Cut it off.
You're supposed to be like really chill, like you didn't read that.
you're like on, you know, we're on like a talk show on TV, and you're like putting up that little sign that says "cut, going to commercial." Cut. But
I'm
honestly,
playing you out.
what I'm
turning
saying
off
is,
your Oscar speech.
this is not unique to the birth world. It's a global issue, and like Sheila said, unless we're changing ourselves, we're not getting very far. And I don't think that we can try to change the world. I think we have to change ourselves, and that's as far as we can go. But that's all. That's my soapbox speech.
Okay, thank you. All right, so we had finally, I'm so excited, the director at, and tell me if I'm saying this right or not, at Bankershuk Institute Research Center for Reproductive Rights, and founder and program director of Human Rights in Childbirth, Hermine Hayes-Klein, has joined us. So happy. Thanks for being here today and joining us from Portland, where it looks like the sun's still out. Wow.
Yep.
Thanks for being with us, and thanks for being real. So how often do you see this popping up, where we have women who are not being kind to each other and adding to the, gosh, you know, like we deal with enough as women, and then to turn around and have other women bring us down? How often do you see that?
Well, that's our issue as women, isn't it? And maybe it's an issue of oppressed people that it's hard to unify, but it's certainly women's issue. I mean, this our ability to really support each other, it's been undermined for a long time, and you can't really understand where we're at now unless you understand where we came from. And we're not really educated in women's history, or even how much has changed in the last 100 years, 50 years, 150 years. And if we know that stuff, then it starts to make sense why we feel so worthless, not good enough, and why we're always comparing ourselves to each other, or so many of us do. I mean, I think we all suffer from it. You know, that one of our issues is like, can she succeed and I also succeed? Can I support her in succeeding, or is there only enough success, only enough beauty, only enough men, only enough wealth for one of us?
Right.
Right, exactly. Well, however we define it, you know, Shannon, it's like Shannon just asked, how do we define success? But I guess one dynamic I see with women is like, you know, like, just think about beauty and all the different bodies women have, right? So it's like, if she has a different body from me, and I admit that she's gorgeous, am I saying I'm ugly? No, but I think women think that way. That's one of our issues. So it's like, real women have curves, or real women look like a model, instead of real women looking like real women look, for example.
Yeah, absolutely. Kristen, how often do you see that, even within like groups that you're in, or maybe groups that you started? How often do you see that, where women kind of they're in the same group, they're trying to get to the same goal, they're trying to reach the same thing, and yet they're still infighting?
Well, you know, I just see over and over that people focus on these little teeny details, and they take the details and blow it into this thing of like, well, I guess we just can't work together then. You know what I mean? And you're like, dude, who cares? Like, all right, we don't have to agree on everything. And it doesn't mean that we fundamentally are, you know, incompatible with each other and literally can't speak to each other because we don't agree on 100% of everything all the time. And I just see a lot of that, where, you know, people will take like one teeny little thing, and then they'll go, well, then I can't support anything you people are doing, you know, because of one little tiny thing. And it's to me like such a lack of vision, and just a failure to, like, you know, keep your eyes on the prize of what the big goal is. And is it about you and your, you know, little tininess and being offended about little teeny details? Or are we here with a much bigger purpose that we all need to just kind of like get over ourselves and, you know, work together to get there?
Yeah, I saw a lot of heads nodding when you said that, about picking out like the one thing well, you don't believe this, or you don't think this way, so I can't be friends with you.
Yeah.
I see that a lot. I see a lot of picking out certain things. Okay, here. Let me say this. Who's screen capturing? What's happening? Okay, now do it.
It prompted me. It was like, do you want to take a picture?
You need to warn people before you do that.
I don't know what to do. It just told me to do it.
Okay, go ahead and take pictures while I'm talking. So anyways, I'll just give you an example. Like Shannon Mitchell and I. Shannon and I are one of my dearest friends, and she and I agree on some things.
Wait. Can they hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, you don't get to talk about me if I can't respond.
Oh, no, I'm going to talk about you, and you don't get to say anything. No. It's Shannon Mitchell and I are really dear friends, and a lot of our other friends know this about us. In fact, we were asked to come talk about it by Hermine. And we are very interesting because there are so many things about us that are very, very different. But I adore her. I love her, and I know she loves me. And we couldn't have more differing opinions on a great number of things. And I don't care. I don't care that she doesn't think the same way about me. But why can't we see more about that? Or are we just crazy? And I will go to you first, Shannon, and then I promise to get to you, Sarah, soon.
Well, first of all, let me say what I said a while ago. Honestly, my growth as a birth worker has really come across these years of watching myself get hurt over and over and over again by other women, and also hurting them because I didn't realize I was doing stupid things. Conversations you think you're having with one person about another person that you think are actually helping an organization or something that then winds up being used against it later, where people are sending emails or they're doing these backbiting little things. And what I've had to learn over the years is that yes, I can click, close, and walk away. I can put down my opinion and not have to stand there and defend it until I'm purple. So things that I feel are a miscommunication, I defend. Things that I feel you're being an ass, I walk away.
Are you talking about me, Shannon?
No, I'm not. No, there have been times, woman. I've deleted a few of your posts. And I'm also very different about the difference between my Facebook wall and groups that I go into and stuff, too. That whole thing of, oh, my God, is this a personal thing? Is this something where we're having a personal discussion? Is this a professional discussion? Or is this a general discussion? There's different levels there. And people, you and I, when we talk, you know, we're pretty, I think we have a chance to be really clear with one another and often are about what levels we're talking about, that satellite view or of the close-up stuff. It's like when I'm discussing with you about how to plan for your birth, I'm not going to discuss the political ramifications of, you know, of midwifery versus non-midwifery versus, you know, licensure or whatever else. I'm talking to you about your birth. And I think some people don't have that telescoping view. They can't back away.
Yeah. Well, I think it's important that you agree with me. But then that's the thinking, right? Like if you don't agree with me, but then where's I talked to Nicole about that too when we were up in Seattle. There's no thinking that goes beyond that says what happens if they don't agree with me.
Then you have no value, and that's the problem that I had. If they weren't agreeing with me, if I wasn't getting what I needed out of it, then clearly I didn't have enough value. Because if I was smart enough, if I was intelligent enough, you would come around to my side. And if not, then my opinion is just sort of stuck out there with that's nice, dear, we're using something else.
Wow. I love it. I love it. Ellie's here. Hi, Ellie.
Hi.
It is so good to see you, like, live.
Am I the only person
can't hear her. I can't hear her. We can't hear you.
She's
Here,
muted.
hold on. Let's see if I can fix it on my end. Hold on. No.
We can't hear you, Ellie.
Hold on. Time out. Hold on. No.
Yeah.
Let me go to the control room and see if I can fix this really quickly. Where's Ellie?
We can hear her.
I can hear you now.
Okay.
Okay. So me and technology have a love-hate relationship, and me and clocks have a love-hate relationship too. So according to my time calculations, I'm actually here half an hour early instead of half an hour late. So So I'm so sorry. I was
okay.
Finally, all these things popped up on my screen, and you guys are talking, and I've got no idea what you've been saying for the last half an hour. So I'm so sorry. But
That's
I'm
okay.
so fun to see everybody. There's so many familiar faces, but I'm used to just pictures and not moving parts. So hi. This is really exciting. Hey, Nicole.
Hi, Ellie.
And Kristen.
Hi.
Dog, hi. And great to see you, Shannon. Hi, last time I saw you was in Sydney.
Oh, it's so exciting. So let's get back to what, I don't know if you heard, Ellie, what Shannon was saying, or what we were just talking about, but that need to be validated. I like what you said, Shannon, because I see it a lot. It's like, if I can't win you over, if I can't make you believe what I believe, then somehow that's my bad, or I suck, or I'm not validated, or I'm not good enough, or I'm not a great enough debater. So if I suck, that can't be reality for me. So that kind of cognitive dissonance is going to make my brain fall apart. So
It's
you
the
suck.
price of academia. It's the price of academia. It really is. We spend so much time trying to learn how to be the smartest, brightest, best, and know the most.
Am I allowed to comment
That's
on that?
interesting. That's interesting that you say that, because I feel like it was in my academic setting where I learned to be able to let that exist. Because I was with so many highly intelligent people from so many different walks of life, and we could all convince anybody of anything and like coexist. So that was actually, I found that was a lot of where I got able to stand strong in what I feel and let somebody stand strong in what they feel right next to me, and we all rock.
Awesome. Go ahead, Kristen.
Oh, sorry.
Oh, I was just gonna say that it's the best feeling ever when you get to the point of I don't really care what other people think. Really, and I don't mean it like in such a sort of crude way, like I just don't care what other people think, but really just being able to identify that point where you've lost like the return on investment as far as devoting your time to trying to convince someone else of your side, and all of the energy that goes into that, and the angst and the stress and all that other stuff. It's really awesome when you kind of are able to just identify when you reach that point and go, all right, I'm just disengaging because this is totally not worth my time. I don't care if they agree with me or not. I love that, and it's also I don't know, it's just a way to sort of like take the emotion out of things and disengage yourself and move on to something that's more productive. Because it's just not productive to try to convince people who don't want to be convinced about something and aren't interested in real information or having meaningful discussions about things. So that's all. For me, it's a time calculation. I'm just like, I don't have the time or the energy for this crap. This doesn't feel good. I'm out of here.
Miss Sarah, we're finally getting to you. It's so good to see your face.
Oh, now you look so sexy, Gina, girl.
Oh, it's my shirt. Did you guys see my shirt? Can you see it?
Oh, nice. You got one of them. Awesome.
Oh,
Wait. It gets better. Hold on. See the back. Hold up before.
Awesome.
I love that.
I had to for tonight. Okay, so Sarah, we're going to bring up a different topic about projecting. Do we see that a lot? I think that still goes back to the self-love and the judgment, but a lot of the things that you hear people lashing out at someone else, how often do you think it's just how they are perceiving things, that they're projecting and not really observing?
My husband actually, before this talk, I was telling him how nervous I was because there were some serious heavyweights and I didn't want to say anything stupid. So I kind of consulted my husband, who is really a lovely guy and can talk about anything. And he said two things that were really kind of profound to me. One thing that he said is that when it comes to conflict between women is the same at its core as any other kind of conflict, in that it's caused by desire. And so conflict is really caused when people have a different, different desires, when they have different goals. And so even within the birth community, where we all can say we support women and we're here for the babies, and even in a room full of childbirth educators who have all been trained by the same person, you're going to find so many different desires. People have different goals and different, ends that they're trying to meet. And as long as you've got those different desires, you're going to have conflict. And so, the goal is not, to say we would like to see unity among women. That is such a broad concept that it is almost unrealistic. I mean, you're never going to have something that you can say all women now get along, or this is what we can do and we all will be friends. What you have to really do is to find people who have common goals. And the smaller, it's probably going to be a small group of people, but not to make the goal, let's unify women, or let's unify all birth workers, or let's stop cutting people down. It really is, let's make an effort to seek out those people with whom we do have common desires and common goals, and really stick together in those smaller groups and make that the focus before trying to do something really, really broad, like unify all women and unify all birth workers, and stop cutting each other down, because you're never going to eliminate the different types of desires. What you can do is try to maintain the focus of finding similar people and putting your energy towards that, as opposed to putting your energy towards hating on folks who are different. That's something that he said that really made sense to me. And also, too, we talked a little bit, and I promise I'll be fast, about like our very biological nature, our very anthropological nature. As women, we were bred for millennia to be competitive, to be territorial, to be constantly on the lookout for other women who might, try to take our male reproductive partner. The more women you can keep away from your man or keep away from your space, it's survival of the fittest, right? So you're guaranteed a more superior or a more powerful genetic line. And, I'm talking like our prehistoric selves, but in like the Neil deGrasse Tyson sense of time, that hasn't been very long at all. We still are very much genetically those people. And so when we no longer have to protect our male reproductive partner or our space or whatever in the way that we did, we still have that energy left over, right? We still have that, the very much prehistorically ingrained nature of being competitive, of being territorial. And when we can't apply it to those prehistoric settings, we apply it to each other in whatever setting we are in now. And for birth workers, we have to put that energy somewhere. And so we end up turning on each other for petty little things, because we're needing to direct that very biological, biochemical part of ourselves that wants to compete and has to be territorial in some respect. So there's that too. There's just biology working against us in that way.
So are we deficient in some way, this little group, because we all happen to get along really well?
Maybe we have a common goal, right? Maybe our common goal is to be on this Google Hangout together, and that's why we're getting along so well. Because even in this very, tiny fragment of time, we don't have conflicts because we have the same goal. We're all doing the same thing at the same time. So,
but we've expressed differences of opinion even in this call, in the sidebar about the value of academia, and maybe part of Indra Lucero has taught me the difference between unity and solidarity. And she says, unity is the idea that we all have to be the same, but solidarity allows us to be different and yet stand by each other. And so it doesn't have to be like, are they like me? I'll find the folks who are like me, although it's definitely nourishing to find the people who share your values and ultimately like our partners. It's helpful if they share our values and stuff like that. It is totally awesome to find people with whom you resonate, that you can really feel comfortable in yourself. But like you're saying, Sarah, that doesn't have to mean hostility toward other groups. The challenge for all humans is to allow for the existence of contradictory truths. There's more than one truth.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
It's a reality.
And we might have some feelings about that.
Yes. It's like there's more than one truth, but it hurts when other people are like, you're bad, or you're stupid, or you're not good enough because your truth isn't matching their truth. That's hurting. That's people hurting. The problem isn't the contradictory truths or the differences of opinion. The problem is what we're doing with them.
I had the president of the Washington Midwives Association look me in the face and say, "You don't talk to obstetricians that way." And I said, "Maybe you don't, but that's not my job. Your job is to work within the system. My job is
I say that all
not.
the time. Yeah.
I'm the rabble rouser here. You guys have no problems calling me when you want me to talk that way to obstetricians for you. This is one time I needed to talk for women." And it was pretty funny, honestly, because I have gotten to that space where dealing with Laureen, another friend of ours, and Gina, and it's like, dealing with a lot of people who are on different sides of the aisle of all sorts of different arguments and discussions, of reading all of y'all's Facebook pages on a regular basis, which just makes my head spin sometimes. It's like I see all these differing opinions, and I see all these different women thinking different things, and I realize that we're all trying to get to those truths that Hermine's talking about. But it's also that other thing of, honestly, I have sat in a group of women who knew me better than I knew myself, and they gave me an award for keeping my mouth shut. And it was the most hurtful experience in the world, because not a one of those women who knew me like that knew that that would hurt me. They didn't know I had those basic underlying insecurities of being afraid to step out and talk like this and feeling like I was constantly under attack. And when that happened, it changed my life. Something broke in me in so many different ways and allowed me to come back and start looking around and go, I'm really tired of being a part of the destructive women's movement, because we are busy trying to destroy one another in all these little bits and pieces ways. And I won't do that anymore. I just won't. It's like I don't care if any of you people don't like me, don't like specific things. At the same time, if I need to work with you on something, I'm willing to do that and step past my own emotions on your thoughts or feelings. And I think that so many of us are not doing that, and that's why our movements implode from within. We don't treat the professional like the professional, and we don't treat the personal like the personal. And we don't know how to apologize. We don't know how to look at each other and say, I'm sorry. And we don't know how to look back and go, you know what? I got a little aggressive in that conversation at your house, Gina. Sorry. We don't know how to do those things. And we at the basic core of it, we're busy telling our kindergartners they have to say please and thank you and be nice to one another.
And apologize.
And then we don't do it.
Can I jump in on this right here? Because it connects to what Sarah's saying that I wanted to share. And it's some interesting research that has kind of been at the heart of my journey with a living family, the community. It started out as a community before I moved into coaching. And this is where I wanted to start in, because I have women who come to me for a living family, the community, my local community, who come and say, I want a like-minded community. Nobody here is like me. And I say, it's okay. Like that. You guys all talked about that. And what I realized is that when there's conflict, right, when there's disagreement, we're afraid that there's going to be conflict. And we also worry about shame. We think that if we agree, then I can avoid some shame. I can get a little more vulnerable because they're probably going to like me, or they're probably going to, be okay with who I am. I'm going to feel a little bit safer if they're like me in whatever way. And then when I find out that those little details. But when we're talking about conflict, this is where I need to bring in some nonviolent communication, because we're talking about feelings and we're talking about conflict and we're talking about needs, and the conflict is not at the need level. We don't have needs that are in conflict. My guess is that most of us don't even know what our needs are, and in these conversations that people aren't aware of the other person's needs either, and that conflict is really at the strategy level. It's okay for us to have different goals and different needs and different desires. What the problem becomes is what Hermione was saying, is that when we try to strategize around how to get our needs met, then we start railroading over everybody else, and now it's a problem for us, all of us. And what I would love to see, this is kind of why I do my work, because what I would love to see is that ownership of my own feelings and needs. I would love to see that fluency of language and connection within myself. When I have that, I have a lot more empathy. This is basic. And my point about the research, before I'd like to move on to somebody else, is that we talk about humans as if our natural biological state is in conflict and competition. And there, studies are now showing, that if, you know how that can go. But, just to throw it out there, that there is also, this is kind of what nonviolent communication Dr. Rosenberg has been talking about for decades, but now there's research that's kind of been mapping it, where they're showing that actually we have an equal predisposition, if not greater, towards compassion and community. And when we're in environments that do not nurture that, then we are adaptive human beings, right? And so I think it's very fascinating that we can have this competitive nature that Sarah's talking about, and yet we have this other. And which are we going to choose? It's like that wolf, and which one are you going to feed? Which one are we going to feed?
Mm-hmm. Literally.
Exactly. Nurture and nourish. That's what I'm all about. Which one are we going to help thrive? And I would love to see us thriving around our feelings and needs and talking about that through empathizing with each other.
All the feelings.
Mm-hmm.
All the feelings we're feeling. So I want to touch on two things. One was a question from one of our listeners, or I say radio for too long, from one of the people who like us on Facebook. She wanted to know, how should we respond when one of our sisters is attacked? Okay, so her question is about, like, what happens if on Facebook someone comes out and says, Gina Kirby is an idiot, nobody should take her classes because she sucks. How are we supposed to respond to things like that? Or Gina Kirby is a shoplifter with a Jell-O habit, and or whatever. And like, how are we supposed to respond to that? That's the question. And I think what she was getting at, because it was a much longer letter to me, but like, what if it turns out that your friend does have a Jell-O addiction and is a shoplifter? How do you deal? Like, how are we supposed to respond to things like that when we hear hearsay or slander against somebody else, whether we like them or not? What's the right way to deal with that? Who wants to raise your hand? Thank you, Nicole.
Because it just happened today. It literally just happened today that somebody was doing that with me, and I just said to the person, I don't know. I have no idea what really happened. Like, I will not know because it was not me. So anytime it's hearsay, it's like a grain of salt in my mind. It's like I have no idea if that's real or if it's not real. So I'm really not going to give it all that much weight inside my mind. The way that I'm going to know a person is by actually interacting with them and seeing how I am with them and how they are with me. Yeah, so it's funny that you just brought that up because that literally just happened to me. And I feel like the hearsay game gets really insane. It's like the game of telephone, And again, what I want to keep speaking to, though, is that we need to be able to have places where we can go and deal with the emotional impact of being in community together. So that's why I like to create one space for that to happen. And then the other spaces are where we treat each other in a not, I mean, sometimes I even talk about it in relationship to as Sheila was talking about, calm and connect versus fight or flight. Like, are we in an oxytocin state heading in that direction together when we're with each other? Are we consciously trying to have that be the way we're interacting, just like we are in the birth womb? Or are we going to go into fight or flight? And so if we start to feel that this fight or flight thing is coming up, which means flight, as Krista was talking about, or fight, as in getting at each other, well, then I'm going to say that I'm probably triggered because I want to either run the fuck away or slap someone across the face. So let me go and deal with what it is that's coming up. And in that setting, when I know that that's the setting and everybody in the space knows that that's the setting, then I'm not actually telling you about somebody for you to then carry out. It's obvious that it's about me processing the emotions that came up for me in response to what happened in that situation. So, and that's very different than hearsay because we just can't ever know because of the projection, because I can't actually see you any deeper than I can see myself. I mean, we just can't. So as soon as we're playing the game of telephone, it's like I don't know. It's like a mask. It's total make-believe in my mind.
I see a lot of nodding. Who wants to add to that?
I think so much, and I don't know if you've already covered this because I came in late, but I mean, so much of it is about self-awareness. But we can't force self-awareness on other people. You know, we can only take it in for ourselves. And, you know, in preparation for this talk, I guess I was looking back over my own life and the times when I was more reactive versus less reactive. And the times when I was more reactive and probably more, you know, difficult or argumentative or whatever was when I felt the least internally resourced. And becoming a mother, I think, was probably the time when I was most ripe for conflict because I didn't have enough to keep myself going, to keep myself okay. And so if anyone tried to take away from me, it was that fight or flight. And I think the times when I am most open to connection, it's because I'm feeling connected with myself. I'm okay in myself, and I've got what I need, so I'm not dependent on anybody else for that validation or for that approval or for that connecting with me because I have it all inside, and so the stakes are so much lower. And so when I'm working with someone, and you know, I've worked with a lot of women over the years who have reacted in a way that they're not happy with. And, you know, when we've kind of explored that and gotten into what's underneath that, it's often because there's something going on inside of them that's, you know, undermining their own ability to connect or to respond appropriately or you know, out of friendship or whatever. You know, I think all of this is in the context of, you know, what's going on for the person at the time. And there's also a wider context to this too, and I don't know if that's already been raised, and again, I apologise if it has, and that is that, you know, you started off by saying in the promo, Gina, that we live in a man's world, and that creates a lot of pressure for women. And when you have pressure coming down from the top, and you can't have any reciprocal pressure going back up, then it either gets pushed down or it gets pushed sideways. And so I think some of the fallout that, you know, I've observed, and, you know, I'm an outsider in the birth communities, is as a result of, you know, being in this state of deficit because of that pressure, of that oppression that comes down from the top, and the energy dispersing, like I said, sideways or downwards. And, you know, just another context for the discussion.
Yeah, for sure.
I'm glad you added that. I know Hermine wanted to say something too.
Well, yeah, the first thing I thought of when you said, what do we do if somebody's attacked, was Jen Camel being blogged about recently by Dr. Amy. And, you know, that I think that's what I'm concerned about, that kind of thing. It's not just Facebook posts and comment streams, because those pass. But all of us if we're working in Earth, we're working in politics, and politics are just turning uglier and uglier, as we see, you know, at least in the States. And like the nature of politics in the States is all about the ad hominem attack, and like Matthew Weiner or whoever, and like find their sin and then just make a big deal about their sin. And like Shannon wrote, we're all human, so we all have secrets and sins, and we're all vulnerable to being personally attacked. So there's the problem of like what Nicole was talking about, like, is it true, isn't it true? I mean, do we all really have to sit in judgment? I don't know if she's really a sinner yet. I'll have to wait for more information before I decide. You know? We could just decide, yeah, that you don't.
That was awesome. Okay, sorry, go ahead.
Well, you know, Jen Camel is being, I haven't even read the blogs because Amy's too toxic, but I know how she's too toxic because she attacks people personally and viciously to try to make them not support women's rights in childbirth. And she's attacking Jen Camel because Jen Camel is all about putting information into women's hands so that they can make their own decisions in birth. And that's the opposite of what she stands for. She stands for doctors should make the decisions. They know, others don't know. And so I think that's I think it's a real concern. It's scary to like all of us are standing up for birth because of love. I'm sure that's our motivating factor. It's like we love women and babies and families, and we want joy for people, and we want to facilitate it so that women can find their way to their individual joy on their terms, and to be coming from that place and like putting our, sacrificing. I'm sure y'all are sacrificing to do the work you do for birth, from other work you could be doing for more money. And then to be vulnerable on top of that of getting personally attacked, as we've seen people in the birth world not only be attacked by people outside it like Amy, but inside it. And that's awful. It's like, women in the birth world blogging about other women in the birth world.
This is my question. Can I just jump in here, which is,
Mm-hmm.
it's really what drew me. I had that piece of self-love to bring. I'm really interested in hearing your wisdom and experience and your own insights around that piece of birth workers, especially when we're all feeling called to support something really important like birth rights, and we really need to come together. This clarification of unity versus solidarity is really interesting to me. But we really need to come together, and that if you're looking at midwives themselves, or you're looking at doulas, or you're looking at midwives and doulas, or you're looking at OBs and midwives, there's so much, even just within midwives, even just within home birth midwives. And I guess that my question is, what do you see, any of you, all of you, as something that would be a helpful solution, something to do that would be helpful, given, realistically, feel free to say, I don't know yet, but it might look like this. But what would be realistic? Because these are communities who are vastly different, very vastly different in so many other ways. And in birth, they're coming together, and sometimes they're attacking each other because of things that are life and death. This isn't like you hit my car. This is like, I'm worried about these babies and these mothers, and no, I'm worried about these babies and these mothers, And I'm interested to hear, when it's that intense, what do you see that might be one out of any of that spiral of support, one step out of any of that spiral that might actually feel supportive to these different factions within a group to come together?
I think it's extremely important to always point out the fact that no matter how we feel, it is never up to us. As birth workers, as women, it doesn't matter who we are or what our intentions are. We do not override the basic necessity that the mother is the determining factor in her relationship with her baby. And that's what I always come back to, is that no matter what my intentions are as a midwife, as a doula, as a childbirth educator, as an advocate, I still do not override her decisions, even when I patently disagree with them. And I think that all too often that's where we take the line, is that we act just as paternalistic as any obstetrician or anyone else because we think we know what's best. And we have to learn to define this under the terms of, you know what, this is how I feel about this, but I am not the decision maker here.
Yeah. That comes up so much.
Yeah.
I saw you nodding, Nicole.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. So many good things. You're also awesome. Yeah. A lot of what I was thinking about concept.
I'm sorry I'm laughing at your trigger. My bad.
I'm thinking about, well, first what Shannon said, which is what Human Rights in Childbirth stands for, which is so much of what Improving Birth is working for, which is that it is about what the mother ultimately wants. And that I find that very grounding. I just find that to be a very grounding thing if it always goes back to what the mom wants. But also in terms of that space of where you have, because I feel like this is what Sheila was speaking to, is that space where you have things are heated, right? Which I think of again as that, like, people are, there is a meme out there that says 10% of the argument is what was said and 90% of it is the tone of voice or something like that, right? So it's often what I find when I'm working with people in a mediator way is that often no one's actually been heard and no one's actually said everything. And so what I've found is if I can help everyone get into this space where they're actually able to see each other and request to be seen, that oftentimes then communication can actually happen. And then there isn't a problem anymore. Or like, yeah, it doesn't become, then it's same way as we do with our own individual psyches, is it's like once we can really just sit with it, then all of a sudden the solution just sort of presents itself instead of in that heightened, with a lot of animosity sort of face. It requires this dropping down into a vulnerable, actually communicating space.
Yeah, can I actually? I love those. They're so fancy for me. I just wanted to put the context on the situation, especially the one that I'm in, or I'm working to help out with, where safety is a major issue. So if you guys can speak to that. I'm talking about midwives feeling safe practicing, meaning their homes are safe, their families are safe, their communities are safe. There's really some really intense stuff happening. That really is not safe. It really is not.
It's an illusion.
Right?
Safety is an illusion, flat out.
Exactly. So talk to me about that. So if some people are believing safety is an illusion and other people think, well, if you just force mothers to do things, how do we actually get people to come to the table together, like Nicole's talking?
When you start using legislation to force women to do things, and you are no longer practicing in safety, you are just imposing your will. And that is a huge problem that we have, is that we really do believe that we can, for a group of women that insist they can't legislate morality, we do it all the time. We have a SIDS law in Florida now where, we're not even allowed to sleep with our babies. We have to be informed we're not allowed to sleep with our babies. Seriously, people don't even hear about that. But, the reality is that we do. We legislate what we feel is morally right and morally safe. And when you have people doing that who think that they can put in a law and institute behavior, if they can put in a law and protect women from themselves and their babies from themselves, I don't think those are people who are actually having a conversation with you. They're not conversing on the same level that you are. They're not discussing the same thing that you are. So either you have to go to their level and say, okay, well, when this law goes into place, these are the ramifications that are going to happen due to this law. Is this really what you intend on happening? Are all of these ramifications open to you? Are you clear on this? Because they're not. They really, truthfully, are not when they're legislating a lot of the time. The other flip side to that is, can you come down to my level for a little bit? Let's just sit here and talk for a minute about the fact that, you want to put in this legislation to protect these 5% of women, and, meanwhile, there are 95% of women who you are going to punish directly with this relationship. Is that what you intend on doing? And, I think you have to either bring them down to your level and ask them to come to your level, or go to their level. I know that with the birth center legislation here, when us talking about VBACs and things, there's so much stuff that when we go to have these conversations, they're impossible to have. Because we were actually told by the state, you can't have your cake and eat it too.
Yeah,
so,
nice. I like the phrasing there.
So it's like, when you're getting into those things with the safety and stuff, you really do have to talk to them specifically about where exactly they are at. Because as long as you're throwing the word safety around, it's not an actual conversation. It's a word that's put out there to represent an entire idea of, we can make this perfect, and we can't.
Which I want to talk about. I think this is a wonderful, and I hope a lot of you will join me again when we talk about just safety in general. Safety and birth is like the title of it, because we could go on for days about that. But I do want to get back to something Shannon said. You were talking about, how about just asking the people that you're talking about? And Kristen brought that up last night in your talk about that what was it? The obstetricians they were saying that there was no benefit to water birth, and y'all said that. Did you guys ask a woman who had a water birth what the benefit was?
Well, it's such a ridiculous thing to say. It's like, a whole bunch of people are buying a product, and someone else who's never used the product is saying, that product doesn't work. That doesn't work, right? Like, you guys understand that doesn't work. Like, it never occurred to you to ask them why they keep buying the product then? Like, maybe they know something you don't? Seriously? I don't know. That whole thing, like, totally blows my mind.
That was off topic, but I had to bring that up.
Pay more pharma reps to bring in water birth tubs.
So if we're gonna talk about this, let's get real here a little bit. Hermine and I have run into this and talked about it in our real lives. I did a program about a midwife whose home was raided and had like cadaver dogs come, and her kids were traumatized, and she was traumatized, and over her losing a baby. Now, I don't know what all the facts are. All I know is that this woman is in jail on counts of murder, which to me is outrageous, whether I know the story or not, because that would mean that she like woke up that morning and decided she wanted to kill a baby. Okay, so I'm not trying to get into the politics of any of this. What I'm saying is that there were a ton of people who were outraged by this, and they were birth workers. They were her sisters. Not, you know, when we talk about men, we say fellow workers, right? And so these are her sister workers. These are other people who do the job that she does, who love women and babies, who want to care for them, who are we're so quick to throw her under the bus and be like, well, she probably deserved it. Like, not, in my mind, I'm thinking, do you know what this means? That you're saying that you're okay with sentencing her to murder? Do you understand that if you are a midwife saying this, that if that happens, that it might happen to you now? Like, now I know I'm getting into like really dangerous waters here, but what happens? What is the disconnect between I have the same profession that you do, and I'm totally willing for you to go to jail, and disassociating the idea that that might happen to me? Why is that so? Why does that even happen? And my mind is always blown when people, you know, other birth workers and people tell me like, I can't believe that you're defending her. I'm like, it's not that black or white. I'm defending the idea that she shouldn't be charged for murder. I'm defending this woman who's been doing this work for 35 years, that she deserves a chance. She deserves to be innocent before she's proven guilty. And why does that happen? Can somebody want to talk to me here?
Well, I think Shannon just wrote exactly what I would say. I totally agree with her. She said they're terrified it will happen to them, so they have to differentiate themselves from her. I think that's completely, absolutely 100% true. It's about differentiating yourself.
That's the thing, then, huh?
Which is what the murder charge does. The murder charge makes it so terrifying. And how many people are not being midwives because of that? There's a lot of work that women have done over the ages that women aren't going to actually go get licensed to do because of what could happen to them, their families. You know what I mean? It's
well, and licensure is a big question.
Yeah, licensure is a big question.
It's no question.
For that same reason, we're scared that it's going to different people on it.
Yeah, it's not even a question though. Really, truthfully, licensure isn't what's keeping us away. It's not what keeps us from serving one another. IBCLCs are about to put in licensure for breastfeeding, and after that, only IBCLCs will be allowed to do that. Doulas are applying for licensure and everything else. It is a complete societal perception.
Exactly.
Really,
Yeah, totally.
we're so being afraid that we're going to be the one, that we have to try to figure out some way to protect our lives. I mean, Gina doesn't remember the conversation. She was so tired she fell asleep. And I realized 15 minutes later I've been talking to myself in the car. But I was sitting there in the car talking about the fact that what I do for a living could wind up taking me away from my son.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And my baby will grow up. I know a midwife who everybody supported, who still signed the papers to stay home so that she could stay home with her babies, so that she would just get probation. I mean, you know, there's these things that we do, and we're busy doing it to each other because that incredibly insane terror and fear. And when I see midwives turning each other in, because it happens all over the place all of the time, we're doing these things to each other. And it's not like we're doing it out of a missing solidarity or a missing sisterhood. I know that's what we want to, that we don't get each other, so that's why we do it. That's not why. We do it because if we can say, she's bad and I'm not.
It's that differentiation.
It's the differentiation. It is the putting the line there that says, I won't do what she did. Please don't punish me.
Yep.
And so, you know, when you have a world where when you stand up for another midwife and CPS gets called to your house, and we're standing in a world like that. But when you help
Well,
another
it's when
woman,
you're at the bottom of the totem pole and you're always getting stomped on. You know, you don't make rational decisions.
Well, you don't make rational decisions when you're afraid, and
Right.
and you actually hurt other people when you're afraid, and people tend to do it to other people. The thing that they're afraid will be done to themselves. And so when we get back to sort of like what are practical solutions or whatever, what could we do as individuals or as women to not hurt each other so much? I mean, I'm sure y'all are probably better at this than me. Like I try to not write when my heart is pounding. I'm starting to become aware that I should not write a Facebook comment. I should not write an email if my heart is pounding and my throat feels choked up, because I'm in reactive mode at that moment. And if I operate from a place of fear, triggered, then I'm liable to hurt another person. You know, I mean, like, think about the mob, you guys. Like, you know, people turning on the midwives. You read the comment streams. You read even the reactions to Gina having a show on midwives having their homes raided, and people are like, you people support baby killing midwives. They're like all ready to put the torch to the pyre. And people have been putting the torch to the pyre for a long time. They've been lining up to watch people get hanged in the village square. That's called the mob. And like, we haven't changed. We're still that species. And you know, those dynamics come up, and maybe those people were feeling afraid too. Maybe they were so scared about the hanging that they would show up to watch the hanging. Anyways.
No, I feel you, and
I'm on topic.
No. It's part of the topic. It's part of I'm trying to get to like the root of it. I'm trying to like dig down to everything and figure out what the truth of it is. Why do we do this to each other?
It is.
And I love that Shannon said, "So is that what's wrong with us?"
The topic is why are we so evil to each other?
I mean, come on. Oh, she went away.
I think that this goes to
us. Who's us?
I love what Shannon wrote was that
us human.
Did my mic get cut off?
No, we hear you.
Okay, no, just really quickly, I love that she said, so is that what's wrong with us? Is that what's different about us? Is that we're not afraid, like this particular group?
Who's us?
Because I'm not afraid. I'm not afraid about what people think about me. I mean, I am to a certain extent, but enough, not so enough, so that I will keep doing what I'm doing. Yes, it hurts when people say mean things about me, but I have to not care enough. I have to be fearless in what I'm doing in order to keep going on. And I think a lot of the women that are here today, I think maybe that's the difference, is the lack of fear. I don't know if she wanted me to say that out loud, but I did. Kristen Miracle has to go. I'm sorry. She said anger is secondary emotion because we tend to resort to anger in order to protect ourselves from or cover up other vulnerable feelings.
Before you go, Krista, I wanted to speak to actually what you had said before about running away in relationship to this, because I actually have to process regularly to remind myself that there is no mob after me at this moment, and that I can take the next step, right? Like, I think, and you know, I'm second generation doing this, and my grandmother was hospitalized or was institutionalized doing this, so I've seen the ramifications of this. So trying to be able to actually say, at this moment in time, there is no mob running after me. I have to presence myself to that on a regular basis, and then take the next step, and then take the next. And I get chicken skin just talking about it because it feels very real and very urgent at that moment that it comes up. So I'm not fearless. I'm just using what I got as often as I can.
Well, that's absolutely the case, though, that we find ourselves so responsive online, and this need to protect ourselves, and this need to, rather than the need to, and we think that's going to protect us, rather than the need to step back, evaluate how this really affects your life, and then take it from there. You know, sometimes we're so caught up, and I've been attacked by many a sacred organization. I've been attacked by numerous people who judged my parenting, but as long as I chose to be involved in that, as long as I made the choice to engage in that, I was living my own little personal hell. At the point that I chose not to be afraid of what all of that meant and to live in fear, I was able to step away from all that judgment of myself. That all of these people were saying all of the things that little voice in my head was saying. to me. All those little voices in my head. So, you know, and the moment you choose, you make a choice every day, and I say this constantly, we make a choice every day, and we can be present in love, or we can be present in fear, anger, and everything else that comes with it. So the answer, I feel like, to many of the questions that are out there, you know, what do we do? What do we do when our friend is attacked? What do we do? The answer is love. It's non-judgment. So I'm going to leave you all with that. Bye-bye.
Bye, Crystal. Nice to meet you.
So I want to get to, okay, wait, how do I do this? Okay, I'm back. All right, so here we go. Can you guys see that?
Yes.
You see that? Okay, so this is not me, okay? This is Facebook me. Maybe this is somebody's idea of me. Not me. Real me was the other day, Hermine said, what, like we never hurt other women and we're always perfect? I'm sure that we are all sometimes afraid, sometimes not afraid, sometimes, oh, it keeps moving. Sorry, I'm trying to keep up with it. Sometimes perfectly compassionate, sometimes judging. It's always going to be a practice for us and all women and everybody. Yeah, so, yeah, this isn't real. It doesn't happen. In fact, the other day I went off on some poor person. I don't even know who she was. I was in a crappy mood. It just came up on my wall. She was talking about how we don't have to take care of poor people or whatever. And I lost my mind on this poor woman who doesn't know me. And I used all my ugliness that I could muster to prove my point. And then I got off of Facebook, and I felt so gross and dirty and horrible and awful. So yeah, I'm very guilty of that. And I was like, why did I do that? Why did I feel the need to tell her that she was wrong, that what she was doing was ugly? Because the whole time I was doing that, I was being wrong and ugly. That I was too into myself and too into proving her wrong, that I couldn't see that I was being the asshole.
So what do you think was going on for you, Gina, at that point? I mean, Ellie was talking about under-resourced, right? I mean, you're a new mom, and you're still trying to keep everything going. And
well, it was like 3 in the afternoon. I hadn't eaten yet.
Yeah, right? Like self-care, which is not something that everybody's a master of.
Right. Sorry, I'm having fun now. Okay. No, and it is self-care, and I'm glad that you brought that up, because I wanted to make sure that I talked about that next Monday at 10 a.m. On the Progressive Parenting Network. I'm going to be talking with Sheila Pye about self-care. So I hope you guys will tune in there, and it's definitely something that I need, and something that I need to really pay attention to. It's not the first time I've talked about it. I think just bringing up a topic one time is enough. I think we need to talk about it until we learn it. That's why when some people do go to church, they go to church all the time and not just once in a great while. You go because you're trying to learn something, learn these lessons. I don't know. That's just me, and I'm not even really religious. So one last thing before we wrap it up. And Ellie, I didn't even get to talk to you enough, but I just wanted to point out, did you see all the cool books behind me? Woohoo! Ellie's book, Becoming Us. Isn't this beautiful? Look at this. It's a real book. Awesome. I've been reading it. With the birth of a baby comes other new beginnings, the birth of a mother, of a father, and of a family. It's an awesome book. I'm so lucky that I have a copy of it. So you all don't. So don't live in scarcity. Just know that you can get one yourself. Don't be jealous of me. But before we go away, I wanted to just cover one more thing. What can we do personally? Like, what are we willing to commit to do so that we don't continually fall into this trap of hurting each other, of hurting one another? I mean, I just did this the other day. Like I said, I'm no angel. I'm very guilty of that, and I'm not proud of it. I feel really bad, actually, about that, because I proved my point, and now I'm a jerk. Like, yay, I'm right and I'm alone. So good for me. So what can we personally do ourselves to try to not perpetuate this anymore? What are some tips that you all have? Let's say you're all talking to your friend Gina, who's struggling with being mean to other women. What advice would you give me or others? to make that change.
Can we say what we feel like we need to do better?
Maybe I need to plug my headphones back. That echo go in. Go ahead, Nicole.
I was just saying I feel like what would be me instead of advice for you is to say what I feel like I for myself be able to better do that. Like what's the thing that I feel like is sort of part of me that I could work to make strong to help bring us together as opposed to apart. That makes sense.
Yes.
Many echoes.
Let's try Ellie.
Am I going to echo?
Yeah, everyone's
echoing. What happened? Oh, well, this might be a good time to say goodnight then. We did go over our hour by 22 minutes. So I think we can talk about I do hope that watching got a lot out of it, and that the echo is gone after the recording's done. But thank you, everyone. Ellie, Krista, Nicole, Sarah. I'm sorry to get two more. Shannon, Sheila. Thank you for being with us tonight, everybody. Please join us again Monday morning at 10 a.m. time. Sheila Pye and I will be self-care, which is more. Check out the Progressive Parenting Network site. So look at all of these here. Like if you're looking at me on the site, there are some awesome people in this network. If you know of any awesome people joining us, let me know. Tell them about us. Look into all of the programs that we're doing, all the courses online. We're going to be adding more all the time. Find us there. Ladies, thank you for joining me. I'm so honored to call you guys friends.
We love you.
Yeah, totally.
Thank you, guys. Love you.
Need
more of this. All right. Wait. And one last thing. We go.
Aww. Precious.
You didn't really have to.
That's always precious.
I love you guys. We'll talk soon.
Huh?
All right. Thank you, everybody, for watching. And until next time, take care of yourselves. Oh, and now there's no freaking echo. Are you kidding me? Hey, Nicole, it's just me and you, and we're still live on the air. What were you going to say? I want to hear what you had to say because I love all the things that you share. Seriously.
I said rather because the way you framed it was what advice would we give you, and what I wanted to offer was the possibility that each one of us could go around and say the thing that we feel like we could individually work on ourselves to better be able to show up and be a cohesive community. Like the thing that came up for me as we were talking about all that is I can hide sometimes. I can start to feel intimidated by people or think I'm not cool enough for whomever or whatever, and then I kind of like will keep my opinion or my thoughts or my even desire to reach out to someone in the background. And so as I was thinking about the cohesiveness of it, that running away, that flighting as opposed to fighting, I would like to work on more. I would like to be able to step out and say, hey, Gina, you're amazing. Can we do a show on raising kids without sexual shame? Instead of sitting in the background going, I wonder if Gina would want to do that. I don't know. Maybe she wouldn't. I don't know. I have no idea. In my own little crazy head back there, right?
Yeah. No, absolutely. That's a real thing. I see Ellie like nodding her head.
Like, what do we feel like is something we could work on for ourselves in order for us to... So that's what I'd like to work on. I'd like to work on continuing to show up and not be so afraid of the mob and not be so afraid of even each other.
Yeah. I mean, so at the end of the day, like that was what I was trying to say earlier is like, can we finish that thought? So like, what's the worst thing that can happen if you don't come around to my way of thinking? What's what's the fear? What's the fear that you don't understand me? Why would I be afraid that you don't get me? And then once we start looking at that fear and then tackling that, and like, what's the worst thing after that? What's the absolute worst thing that could happen? Then we enter that world of self-discovery, and then we're like, oh, maybe it's me. Ellie?
Oh, she's muted.
Ah, why is she muted? Wait, Ellie, time out. Stop talking.
Want to hear it?
There she is.
It's me muting myself, and I only just discovered chat, so there's been whole conversation going on that I was totally not aware of.
So we're laughing at you, Ellie.
Yeah, me too. I'm like, oh wow, they're talking to each other behind the scenes as well. And
We've all been there.
Okay. I think the other big learning for me was recognizing the different ways that our culture drip feeds anxiety, and that I'm kind of carrying around this, pot of anxiety that I'm not even aware of, that I haven't signed up for, but it's just being fed through the media and through messages, and so then I've got this stuff that gets triggered by somebody's innocent comment or whatever. So I think part of it for me was disowning stuff that really wasn't anything to do with me, and just rejecting that. Like, for example, one of the things I studied at uni was the way that the media manipulates, particularly women, into feeling self-conscious or feeling like they're not enough in order to sell us a jar of of a solution that then relieves the anxiety. So I think it's certainly self-awareness, and that's probably the key one for me, but it's also some perspective on the whole thing, and just recognizing those outside influences that affect not only my reactions, but possibly somebody else's reaction to me as well. A lot of it is me, but some of it's just maybe outside both of us too, and it's like being in that container with the lid on it. It's really complex, really complex.
It is, but I thank you. Thank you so much for being on the program, and for sticking with me here at the end, because I don't know if you guys know. Do you know who Craig Ferguson is? He's a comedian. He has his own show here in the United States, and at the end of the show, they have this part that goes, "What did we learn on the show tonight, Craig?" And so, like, tonight, if I were to share what I learned on the show tonight, was I need to be aware of my triggers, be aware of what triggers me, and maybe step away when I'm feeling that flushed feeling and that I'm schwitzing, to maybe not immediately write how I feel, and to step away from there and work on some introspection. I've learned tonight that I need to work on self-care, that if I'm not caring for myself, that's going to be really hard for me to care for others. If I'm not respecting myself, how can I respect anyone else? And if I don't love myself, how can I love anyone else? So these are all things I need to think about tonight. So thank you to my wise friends for being on the program and for being very real. Thank you, Hermine, for being in bed on the phone call. That means a lot to me. I'm not being facetious. And just thank you for being yourselves. And for anybody who had the curiosity and or courage to even watch the program tonight, to dare to wonder these things with us, thank you. And until next time, which will be Monday at 10 a.m., you guys take care of yourselves and take care of each other. And please dare to check out the Progressive Parenting Network. I've been working really hard on it with my dear friends and my darling husband at progressiveparentingnetwork.com. Check it out. Check out our programs. And if you, like Nicole said, have something that you want to share with me, I wonder if Gina would want to do a show on this, or I wonder if Gina would want me to be a part of the network, or I wonder if Gina would want me to teach a course on this. You don't know until you ask, and the answer is most likely yes. So I'm easy. Don't tell anybody. All right. I'll talk to you guys later. Have a good night. Love you.
Bye, Gina. Thank you.